to actually do the real solution of the hydrogen atom today. But we need to know what we're gonna solve. So we need this little equation. So we're going to do that first. This is the Schrödinger equation. Now we had the Broglie's wavelength, right? So we know that was the wave-particle duality, yeah? That also particles have wave-like character, like photons, like we have discussed many times during the course. We know, of course, that the energy of the photon now, hc divided by lambda, equals to h nu equals to h bar omega, where omega is our angular frequency. This we have seen many times. We also now introduced, of course, that the momentum of the photon, but now the particle also, the Broglie hypothesis. I'm going to put it just in the x direction. You can do this in 3 dimensions. It's straightforward. It's just a little bit symbolically different, right? So we're going to put it in the x directions, and then we knew that it was h divided by this, the Broglie wavelength, right? Which we can then, of course, write as h 2 pi divided by lambda, h bar k, where k is the wave number. Okay, so, well, then we're going to consider a plane wave again. But now for the particle. The plane wave then, which I'm going to write as a function phi xt equals a ei kx minus omega t. Okay? Now, often, and we'll go through, you see this in your textbook as some phi, but I'm so bad in writing the symbols, so I'm just going to write it as phi. You see it as psi. Okay? That's just to make touch with standard notation. Okay, we're going to play around just a little bit with this first. We're going to take the time derivative. This is, again, just things that we have done. If we take the time derivative of this now, the phi, the t, we know that the wave-like character means that it basically just comes out, right? So in this case, this is just minus I omega, yeah, times the function itself. It's just a reflection of that, okay? And then we're going to multiply it by I times h bar. So we multiply this by I times h bar. We get the phi dt. And on this side then, well, we have omega h bar, right? And omega h bar is just E. Up there, the Broglie. Right? So that's just E phi. So that's a little neat equation that we have. You can call it 1. So then we're going to play around a little more. We're going to take the spatial derivative. Well, that just works out the same, right? The phi dx is just going to be, now it's ik that comes out, okay? Let's do the same. Multiply it by I h bar. So that's I h bar, d phi dx. And on this side now, well, we get a minus sign. And then we have h bar k, right? But h bar k is just the momentum. So that's just minus px phi in this wave picture, all right? So we're going to take the second derivative as well, the 2 dx squared, partial derivative, yeah? And, okay, then we just have to take this one more time, and then, of course, another one comes out, so the 2 phi, the x squared, is just minus k squared phi. But minus k squared, we might just use this relation, right? So we can write this as px squared divided by h bar squared phi. Okay, we can call this 3, we can call this 2. So let's say now that our particle is free. Yeah, it's just freely moving out there. Then the total energy, which previously I have called W, right? Now, I will follow the custom here and call it E. So that's just lovely now, because in the radiative transfer language, we have E as the energy density. In the electromagnetic description, we had E as the electric field, and now we have E as the total energy. It's nice being an astrophysicist sometimes. For a free particle, that's just the kinetic energy, okay? The kinetic energy in this case, we're moving along the x direction, right? We can write as px squared divided by 2m. That's just your mv squared divided by 2 written in terms of the momentum. But using this now for the free particle, we see that we can combine these two. Number 1 we had over there, and number 3 we had over there, right? Because we have the energy, can write it in terms of the momentum, so we get this. I h bar phi dt equals, instead of E now, px squared divided by 2m phi. However, for that we can use this one, so we see that we can write this as minus h bar squared 2m phi dx squared. So, where did we end up? We ended up with the equation for the free particle, the wave equation. So this is the wave equation for the free particle now. Okay? Now, that was very straightforward and nice. So, and now we come to the postulate. We're going to suppose that these relations for the energy and the momentum that we put up for the free particle, we can see them as operators now, and they also hold for a non-free particle moving in a potential. Okay? That is, in a situation where the total energy is not just px squared divided by 2m, but px squared plus a potential. Now for us today, this potential is only going to be a function of essentially the radius. It's going to be the Coulomb force, right? And if we now do that, since we know that this was originally, right, we had this to be E phi, we can just, by going through this again, see that what we end up with is d phi dt equals minus h bar 2m plus u d2 dx squared plus u phi. And this is then the time dependent Schrödinger equation. Of course, we have not derived it. We have just made it appear plausible that we have this. You cannot really derive the Schrödinger equation like that. Just like you cannot derive Newton's laws of classical physics.